So you were working at Facebook and it was growing really rapidly. It was really an ambitious project, and I'm sure you couldn't imagine that it would conquer the world as it did now, but it was, well, it was kind of promising, I would say. And at some point you got a call from this relatively unknown senator, Democrat, who asked you to join his campaign. And common sense would be, well, forget the senator, I'm going for the billion-dollar success. Why did you choose the opposite?
In 2007, I think a couple things were going on. Facebook had been growing for over 3 years and had tens of millions of people on it, but wasn't yet at the success level that it has become today. And as much as I was learning and having fun doing everything that I was there, part of me felt like I had a responsibility to my peers and to my country to channel some of the frustration that I felt at the time. Remember, these are in the waning days of the Bush presidency, which, like
frustrations.
A lot of Americans, I had deep frustrations.
Oh, the rest of the world too.
Yes, this was shared. With how things were going. And so Obama was a really unique candidate because he obviously didn't come from a traditional background and really wanted to change the way politics was done in Washington. And that message resonated with me. It resonated with, frankly, tens of millions of other people. And the reason it was able to resonate so fast is that from day one, as a candidate, he put his money where his mouth was, which is really investing in technology. It used to be in campaigns in the United States that the folks who did tech would be like the nerds in the corner, right? You know, like those are the guys who are making the website. That's the way it was talked about.
Webmaster.
Right, exactly. Webmaster. That's a term I haven't heard in a while.
Yes.
And everyone else in the center of the campaign were the folks who were raising money, organizing the field campaign, developing the messages for television, etc. But in 2007, that shifted. Instead of putting us, the internet folks, in the corner, they put us literally in the office and figuratively, in terms of the structure of the campaign, in the center. There was an understanding that the only way that Obama as a candidate was going to be able to beat Hillary Clinton or anyone else in the primaries, or later, the Republican candidates, was to do it differently. And as this network of grassroots supporters was just sort of percolating beneath the surface, it was up to us to create a technology that would, in many ways, get out of their way and help them do the things that would build a strong campaign, raise money, knock on doors, make phone calls, this type of stuff that in American politics can be people-powered if you have the right movement, you have the right energy, and in our case, the right technology. And just to, give some perspective, in this past Obama campaign cycle, which I did not participate in because I was, on the other side now as a journalist in the media world, they had well over 100 folks doing data and tech work.
Data wizards.
Yeah, it was not only the center of the campaign, but in many ways, in the final month, the place that Obama would go on the map, what town he would go to in Ohio, was determined by the insights of the internal polling and data that the campaign had. And so not only was it an important tool by that point, but in many ways the data, the technology was driving the very organization of the campaign.
So the Obama campaign, I guess a lot of people agree, that revolutionized the way online campaigning is being done. A lot of strategies are being replicated at this time, not even on national level in the United States, but worldwide and on all kinds of levels. What is the stuff that at the time you really wanted to do, was there, and that technical ability was there, but you just didn't have the time or the money? What was the most awesome thing at the time that you could do to make Obama president?
One of the things that we almost got to do at the end of 2008, and they were able to do much better this time, which we could see being really powerful, but we didn't have the time, resources, and the technology was just getting there, was making it possible for individuals to know which of their friends, colleagues, or family would be the most important voters to get onto the Obama team
Wow.
and to enable them to organize. So let me take a step back. In the United States with campaigns, there's a lot of grassroots activity often. There's door knocking and phone calls. But it used to be that you got lists of people's phone numbers, and you have no idea who these people are. Maybe they live near you, maybe they don't. But you're just essentially cold calling. Hi, my name is Joe. Is Carol available, etc. With social networks, it's now possible to not only identify some of the most influential people, but you can predict whether or not they're likely to be a supporter or not a supporter, or maybe they're on the fence. And then the power is actually telling you, here are the 5 friends that you know who are on the fence and don't know who they're going to vote for, call them.
So how does it know this?
And say X, Y, or Z.
How does it know this, that which 5 friends are the most important to the campaign?
So what happens in the United States is there are voter files, which really just contain only your party affiliation, your name, your phone number, your address. These are files that the states hold. The campaigns can take that and then take polling data and model so that if you are a 50-something African-American woman living in this particular town, you're highly likely to support President Obama, or, essentially, et cetera, by demographic data. And so then you can log in with Facebook Connect, and it'll cross those files, and it'll be able to tell you, here are the 4 or 5 people that are the most important that you call. Here's their phone number, and here's what there is to say. This is just one example of many of the tools that are out there. So this was emergent. Facebook Connect existed in 2008, but it had only been around for a few months. And we actually did this in the context of Facebook. We did it as an app. It was sort of clunky. We still had a good number of people using it, but it's now so much more robust and so much easier
And now
to
it
do.
works great. But 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 2008, it was still kind of crappy. You said in an interview you were almost shocked by what the technology was that you had to work with.
Yeah, it was a pretty rickety house that we were
Yeah,
barely keeping together. No system had been built for, we had, just on the social network that I was focused on, we had over 2 million people using it, and the system had been built for maybe 200,000 at most.
Right.
And so we're just like, oh my God, we got to keep this,
Scaling,
yeah.
So I imagine there are a lot of people in the room now who work at a company and want to use technology, but they have the same crappy systems. How did you cope with that? What can you advise to these people to make it better?
Because you came from Facebook, where all of this were built from scratch to scale.
Well,
not at all.
Yeah, some, but if not, but there were enough resources, and there was time to.
You were used to using quite awesome software, and then you arrived at the Obama campaign.
Yeah, big organization, crappy technology.
Yeah.
How do you fix it?
You have no choice but to dance with the one you brought. You have the technology that that you have, and there's a constant. I would say if your app is already scaling, you've got a really solid brand, you've got traction, and you know that you've made some structural error in building, then it may be right to reevaluate, to rebuild in a separate silo, and then to transition. More often than not, though, that's not the case. I think that people assume that they have to, build the perfect system that could scale to 1 million users today before they launch their app tomorrow. And I don't really think that that's true. Instead, most of the startups that I know and am a part of, whether most often now as an investor, either have something that they know is going to be very easy to scale, or they do an invite platform to start, so that only so many people can be on the network at any given point, which enables you to create a line.
But you got to have the guts to rebuild and rebuild in order for it to scale properly.
Yes, but you could spend all day building the perfect system before it sees the light of day, only to understand that I think the culture of experimentation and iteration suggests that you shouldn't wait. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Don't wait all this time to build a perfectly scalable solution before you release anything to the world.
So you had to work with this crappy software. But in the end,
it did the trick. It was
let's
not.
Let's just say it's crappy, sir. It was crappy software. No, but it got better.
The folks that are out there, Blue State Digital, which was the technical firm that built this stuff. They were busting
No, I know,
working
but
as
this is
hard
a nice
as they could.
dramatic angle to this
Great
story.
guys. We love it.
It sounds
They were
good, so.
fantastic, fantastic. No, but the system soon got better, and now it's some sort of the touchstone of what online campaigning is doing right now, and that happened very fast. We're talking about just 5 years or something like that, that has really profoundly changed the way campaigns interact with their citizens.
Yeah.
How do you say, considering what's being done now, what you see startups doing, what you see campaigns doing, what will you say in 5 years is the thing they're going to campaign with? What technologies will be used, or what data will be used to come even further than this?
I think the biggest question is what technologies we allow as a society to create new kinds of information, because that's the raw product that any of these apps or any of these services work off of. So let me give some context on that. I think we're at this historic moment when we have built all of these technologies that make it possible to record all kinds of data, to take experiences and turn them into data. And we also have the storage capacity pretty much to record everything. Mm-hmm. You know, there are some people who are branded as crazy, but you know, there are folks out there who want to wear a camera on their lapel to record every single experience that they have in any day so that they can go back to it in the future, or so that they can just use that data to build any kind of app on top of. Similarly, in the United States, we have the introduction of these Google glasses, which
a speaker in Dutch.
someone else already had them up here.
We know all about it. So.
Fascinating technology, fascinating technology. But the questions are, you know, if a pair of glasses can record everything at any given moment, if by putting them on I can identify you in the corner and listen to your conversation over here, mm-hmm. you know, are we okay with technology being able to amass that amount of information? So I'm giving a long-winded answer, but let me get to your question. The question about what kind of apps, whether it's for a campaign or a company or whomever, that we can foresee in 5 years or 10 years are all premised on the fact that, like, we have to make public policy decisions. I mean, decisions about privacy, decisions about how we want to organize ourselves to determine what kind of information that we want to collect. So this idea of laser targeting voters on a campaign, you know, that's possible in the United States because we've made certain public policy decisions. In most European countries, it's not. And it's certainly not yet there because the systems aren't robust in a place like India. And so we have to know how we're going to, you know, organize ourselves as a society, how these technologies are going to be integrated, what data we're going to produce, and what we are going to say is legal or not legal for me to be able to say 5 years from now, this is the way a Dutch election will work.
But the legality aside, if you take a country like India, where probably privacy laws are not on the top of the list of things to do, so to say, and someone wants to win a campaign, everyone there is on the Facebook. If they have a cell phone, they're probably on the Facebook there already. What is technically possible in a couple of years that you think, legal boundaries aside and ethical questions aside, what is an example of the extent of laser targeting that they can do?
In the context of campaigns in particular?
In the context of campaigns.
I mean, a lot of it is the type of stuff that I was saying before in terms of social organizing. You could imagine a scenario where you have a single issue voter, whether she's in India or in the United States, where, you know, she just wants to know the policy on capital punishment or on abortion law or on, you know, something like that. And you go to the candidate's website, that's the information that you see. Not some smiling photo with a blog post about the environment, but instead that particular issue. I think you could easily see a scenario with voter registration and engagement that makes it much easier for voting to occur, whether that's you know, remotely in a digitally secure environment. It's really hard to separate in the world of campaigns, though. It's particularly difficult to separate it from legal questions because each one of these things is you know, I mean, an election is in and of itself a legal event.